So, without disclosing any confidential client information, what types of project are you assisting your client at the moment so that we get a bit of an understanding, of a level of accounting and tax complexities that you're solving for your clients?
Yeah. So, Alain, as you may be aware, I've been semi-retired, so I'm going to talk about what happened pre-30th of June 2021, and while it still remains fresh in my mind. So, from that perspective, Alain, I was involved in many projects. Those projects range anything from $1 million up to about $50 million, Alain. So across quite, if you can imagine the extent and breadth of building at $1 million, building at $50 million, that's what I've been involved with. Those discussions generally with those clients have been initially, is it feasible to do this? Will I make a profit? Because why would you otherwise do this project? It is all about being successful profitably, but ensuring that you are able to continue to do the next project. Building, at the end of the day, Alain, I believe is about two things. That is building to budget and building to time. Finding the right land, finding the right people around you is equally as important. Finding the people that can, in fact, assist you to take your project from one stage to the next is vital. Okay. Sometimes you have to pay for that privilege, but I can tell you it gets you there a lot quicker.
Yes, it's a learning curve.
It is a learning curve. It is certainly a learning curve, and you're leveraging against somebody else's experiences, and that means a lot, Alain. What is important is knowing, as I've mentioned, the profit. What is the result of that profit? What does that mean to me in terms of GST? What does that mean in terms of the tax that I will ultimately pay? Is it capital gains tax?
Yes.
Is it taxed by in the normal course of business, which is taxed at normal rates? How do I structure my business? I have multiple partners. How do I protect my interests and how do I protect their interests? Structuring is so important in development, in any property development enterprise. That is getting the right structure. Do I have a company? Do I have a unit trust? Do I have a discretionary trust? They all have a fit within the scheme of property development. You just need to know when and what is appropriate to you. Designing a structure that suits your requirements is important. But before we do that, we need to understand what you're trying to achieve. What is your background? Yeah. Who are the participants in the project? And from there, we can develop it. Income tax today, Alain, largely centers around, we talk about tax minimisation, but largely, Alain, as I mentioned earlier, the tax system has been broadened so much, and the Australian Tax Act has been rewritten in the sense that they have refined the laws that are associated with collections of taxes, so that it's very difficult to escape taxes. And most of the tax today centers largely around income splitting. So income splitting is achieved in multiple ways, through a company, as a shareholder, as a unit holder in a unit trust. But then ultimately that tax comes back down to the individual, and understanding the individual's tax position is vitally important to then structuring it in a way that he minimises tax. I don't have a magic wand, Alain, and I can't make the tax go away. And by the way, let me also add this point. If you are paying tax, you're making money. If you're not paying tax, you're not going to make money. So it should be in everyone's objective when they enter into a project to actually pay tax, because then they'll know then they'll know they'll have made money.
Correct.
So I always say, let's push you to, and tax shouldn't be a driver of anything. It is a consequence of the actions that you take within the project, but it shouldn't be the driver of the project. yes, I'm here to ensure that you pay the least. I can't make it go away, but I can assure you you'll pay the least amount of tax.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So in terms of the sort of project you've been involved with, can you give us a bit of a quick understanding?
Yeah, certainly. In most cases, Elaine, the $50 million projects, probably I would say there's been a handful of those. Where my focus has been is in the unit development space.
Okay.
Anything from 2 to 6 units.
Yes.
Quite a bit of interest in that space because it is an affordable space. It's affordable in the sense either at an individual level or a number of individuals can combine and pull their resources together and build on it. So there it entails the structuring of those projects, both from a development point of view, that is that we put a unit trust or a company together, maybe even some family trusts we put together that support that because it's all about income splitting.
Yes.
And these structures may get a bit complex, but Elaine, then we do, and where we start first is actually the feasibility of these. So before we do anything, we actually work on the how many units you're going to build, what the GST is going to look like, what the profitability is going to look like, and then the consequences of doing nothing versus doing something. So that's what I've been involved with. Right. And again, it is at that from 2 to that 6 unit level. That's been my major focus.
Yeah, and that's a very vital exercise. It's about planning your tax structure and also your tax position even before you start doing your project.
I couldn't agree with you more, Elaine. It is knowing. Look, I think like most of these projects, Elaine, you need to start with an end result in mind. That is, you need to know what the markets will afford. If no use building a $1 million townhouse when you know that the market and the area will only pay $800,000 because you'll never achieve it, no matter how good it is. So understanding your markets is really important. Hence, experiences like you have are vitally important. Having connections to real estate people, vitally important. So knowing what you can achieve is important. And then you can determine what that finance result's going to be for you.
Okay, very nice. So if there's one advice you could give to the audience, what tax question do you wish we should all be asking before venturing into property investing, property development?
Certainly. My one view of, first of all, I believe knowing what it is going to be worth to you. That is, having a value, knowing what that the market result will be. That is a retail value of the project.
Yeah.
Working out what the costs are going to be, costs both in construction, land, and finance, determining what that profit is, and then assessing what the tax implications will be. Once you have that, you at least can determine that, yes, this is going to be within the realms of my expectations in terms of profitability and success, because without that, you're only traveling blind. You can't start off with a project hoping you're going to make a profit. You need to start off knowing you're going to make a profit. And that is then you progress. So if
it's not about investing, it's more it becomes more about gambling. You're trying to
absolutely
gamble on that project to achieve your
yes. So it is knowing, being well prepared up front, knowing what the expectations are, knowing what you may encounter. You may not get everything, but I tell you a thing, if you can get at least 80% of the expectations right, you're on a pretty good path to success.
I see. Interesting. I like that a lot. Yeah. So as we start wrapping up our talk this morning,
certainly,
are there any questions that I could or should have asked, but didn't ask on the final takeaway from today's talk?
Alain, I'm a believer in ensuring that you have the best information. In anything you do, information is king, Alain. Asking the questions to the right people, which is also no use asking your friend about tax. Right? If he's not a tax agent or if he's not a tax expert, ask the question to the right people. So source the right support for the things that you wish to achieve. It's a little bit of it's an investment you make in achieving success. So, Alain, my question is, ensure you have the right people. If you're going to ask, go to the tax person that can give you the tax advice. Go to the property manager that knows property. That a project development manager such as yourself, Alain, you go to you, who will guide you along the way. So from that perspective, the question you should be asking, and there's no one specific question, but all I'm suggesting is go to the right people first, and sourcing those is your starting point.
Right. Oh, yeah. My advice to some people, I always say, you either pay for your own mistakes, trying to do it on your own, trying to find that information, or you pay someone for their time and learn from the experience and the mistakes we've gone through in the past and learn from them.
So true. So true. There was once I do recall often which has been said, Alain, it was the engineer on the drilling site, and they had a major leak on the drilling site. And of course, the engineer's called in. He's a specialist in his field, and he says, "How much are your fees?" And he said, "Oh, it's $1 million." And I'm being facetious here. It's $1 million. And I said, "What? $1 million?" Yep. So he's done the job. He's arrived on the platform, walks over to the switch, the right switch. He sources it, turns it off. He says, "$1 million, please." He said, "What? Just for that?" He says, "No, for the knowledge of doing that."
For the knowledge that he accumulated over the last 40 years, exactly.
Correct. Yes. So that's what it's all about, I think, Alain.
Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah. So how can people get in contact with you for any specific?
Alain, what I would suggest is I think they actually come through you first. Okay. And whilst I'm happy to consult people progressively, and I'm happy to share an email and a mobile phone number.
Sure.
My preference is for them to come through you first.
Yeah.
And we can take from there. But in the event that people do want to just send me a quick email, they can send it to SL Bagnati. I'll spell that out for you. It's BAGNATI. It's SLBAGNATI @gmail.com. And that's your first point of call. Yep. Happy, I do respond to each email that I do receive. I can't guarantee you timeliness of it at times, but I can guarantee I will respond to it. And generally, it's within a reasonable time.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. All right, Andrew. Thanks again for joining me on this discussion today. And
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. You take care.
You too. Take care.